opening scene of Gran Torino, we meet Walt Kowalski, who is the Clint Eastwood character, at his wife's funeral. And it's there already that we learn that he is a cantankerous, miserable, angry man. And from the get-go, I liked him a lot. Not for his vulgar, over-the-top racism, and it is over-the-top in this movie, or for his extremely coarse edges, and he has a lot of them. I liked him because he was a no BS kind of a guy. He had no room for hypocrisy or inauthenticity, or especially for people who didn't show respect. So when his grandkids, those kids in that clip, come to their grandma's funeral wearing football jerseys and exposed pierced belly buttons and making irreverent jokes as they genuflect, he growls. And if you've seen the film, they really up the sound guys, up the growling of this Walt Kowalski character. When later on in the film, his son, he's not really all that close to, calls him out of the blue, and Dad says immediately, "What do you want?" He says, "Dad, I don't want anything, right? I just want to talk to you." And then by the end of the conversation shows why he was calling, to see if he could get some free tickets to the game. He immediately hangs up on his son. When Walt's granddaughter acts really kindly and sweet and syrupy toward him, only so that he would, when he died, leave his Gran Torino to her in his inheritance, he spits and walks out on her. When a priest gets up at that funeral and offers trite life and death words at his moment of greatest loss, he just glazes over. Once again, the church, totally irrelevant and hypocritical. The guy had no room for fake faux community or false words or this imitation kind of love that we extend to one another. He hated inauthenticity, and he hated the loss of civility in his world that's plaguing our world. The downward spiral of the neighborhood that he's living in, the way it's not kept up anymore, and the scourge of gangs. Hated all that stuff. So for all those things, I admired him, because there's something about a person who's real that is very, very true. And even with the irony of his incivility in terms of his racism, which I figured was so over the top, there had to be a redemption story about to play out on that front, I still admired him. Throughout the film, just got this growing sense that all Walt Clint Eastwood really wanted was for people to be honest and straight up and real. Say what you want, speak the truth, and do the right thing. The big question in the film was, is anybody willing to do the right thing anymore? The Old Testament is filled with teaching that says that unless you outdo what you know, you don't know what you think you know. If you know something, it will affect how you live. And if you're not living it, you don't know squat. James, Jesus' disciple, once wrote, "Faith without works is dead." And Jesus once taught, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself." So Wednesday night, I go for a walk at 10 o'clock. It's a beautiful night, just a 15-minute walk around the block. And as I'm coming around the corner towards my house, there's some loser sitting there doing his brakes in the twilight, trying to hold a lamp between his knees and pull these springs onto his rear brakes. And the moment and this is how I did react to it, the moment I'm judging that person that way, instead of immediately thinking, maybe I can help, right after I judge him, I know inside of my heart, I got to go help the guy. And so I stop, and at 10:15 on Wednesday night, end up doing the brakes for this guy And I end up doing the brakes for this guy because his Parkinson's is so advanced that he can't keep his arms still enough to... Have you ever done rear brakes? You got to pull springs, and it's a tough, complicated thing for an able-bodied person, let alone for this man who was struggling because of his Parkinson's, which he said was really, really bad at that point. And he wanted to get the wheel on before... You can't leave it up on a jack on the street all night. So I got home at 11:45. Sarah's out, my daughter's out in the front lawn looking for her dad. All the lights in the house were on, and Fran had gone out in the van thinking I died of a heart attack on the street an hour and a half later. And before I got too good on how good I was there, on Saturday morning, I'm sitting reading my paper, about to go for a bike ride, and I notice this dog comes walking through my lawn, and it ain't our dog, but it looks like somebody's dog, and it's walking into our backyard, and I go, people and their dogs, you know. I'm not going to go take it. What am I going to do? Get the dog, sit in my front lawn, wait for somebody to come back? Forget it. I'm reading the paper. I'm going for a bike ride. So 20 minutes later, I'm upstairs in my bedroom getting ready for my bike ride, and I hear this talking in the alley. So I look out my bedroom window, and I see 3 women. One has got a rope that she's obviously jimmied and put around the neck of this dog. They just finished feeding the dog some water. Somebody had went and got a little dish and put some water in so the dog could have a drink. And they were loading the dog into this third woman's van to obviously take the dog to the SPCA, or the Humane Society. And I'm watching this play out, and I'm going, that is being a good neighbor. And then I get my bike, and I'm about to leave, and I hear my neighbor across the street yelling, Zoe, Zoe, and I'm going, no. I got to preach a sermon tomorrow on being a good neighbor and doing the right thing. And I have just aided and abetted the abduction of my neighbor's dog. Sorry, Robin. So I walked over, and I just stood there and explained it to her, and I just stood there, right, feeling all convicted, and she had no idea what kind of a mind warp I was in, and thought I was acting strange, standing in the street in my spandex, confessing. God longs for people to be real in their love to their neighbors, real like God is real when it comes to actually sacrificing yourself, your time, your sleep, your ride, your schedule for somebody else. God yearns for real community among people. So that Switchfoot song about we were meant for so much more, God yearns for that so much more for all of us. And the lengths that God would go to accomplish that full, final, complete new community is quite honestly beyond your or my comprehension. It is ironic in the film how Walt is so, if people could just respect others and be decent the way it used to be, and yet be the way he was a total irony. And the irony of that, for me, acted like a mirror. That film was a mirror on you if you watched it. I hope it was. What we despise most in others is often what lurks deep within our hearts and souls. What Walt hated about disrespecting other people, in other people, was who he was as a human being. He was the epitome of that kind of person. Unresolved internal brokenness does that in you and me. Our fracturedness causes us to project what is inherent in us onto other people, or hate it when we see it in other people, because they're like a mirror, and I hate mirrors because they make me see reality for what it is. We project what's wrong in here onto what's wrong out there, and what's wrong with them.